Hey, welcome in. This is Reb C here, and we are going to look at the very divisive topic of free will. What do we mean by free will? Specifically, what do Calvinist and Reformed people believe and mean when we say free will? Does man have a free will? So let's get right into this. Again, hit the like button, share, subscribe for more if you enjoyed this type of content. So, what do we mean when we talk about free will? Here's a quote from Augustus Toplady. It says, "A man's free will cannot cure him even of the toothache or a sore finger, and yet he madly thinks it is in his power to cure his soul." Man's free will does not have the power to even you can't even fix a sore tooth if you had one. You so what do we mean when we say free will? And the issue is when we say man doesn't have free will, when Calvinists say man does not have free will, some people erroneously think or assume and argue that we're saying that man has no will at all, and they're just automatic robots. And this is a gross misunderstanding of what is being said. What is being said is man's will isn't free, meaning man's will is subject to the fallen nature that is manifested in the flesh, the world, and the devil himself. So, if one's will is truly and entirely free, which I think some people assume they get this picture when they think of free will, can one not simply will to never sin again and remain sinless as desired until death? That's an experiment to see if this will is actually free. So when we say man's will isn't free or man does not have free will, what we're saying is man is as free as his inborn nature allows him to be. So, free in the Westminster Confession of Faith 9.1, you can look at that, but it talks about in the natural order, God has endued man's will with liberty and power to act upon choice, so that it is neither forced from without, nor by any necessity arising from within itself compelled to do good or evil. Nothing on the outside or the inside. God does not compel you to sin. We look at Matthew 17:12 as a great verse. Matthew 17 and verse 12. This is during the Mount of Transfiguration, and they say, why then do the scribes say that Elijah must first come? Jesus answered and said, Elijah is coming and will restore all things. But I say to you that Elijah already came, and they did not recognize him, but did to him whatever they wished, whatever they willed. So also the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands. So here, they had free will, and they chose to do what they wanted to do with Elijah. God did not force them to do that. So in his state of innocence, man, so Adam and Eve originally had freedom and power to will and to do what was good and acceptable to God. Yet, being unstable, it was possible for him to fall from his uprightness, which we know he did. And so as a result or a consequence of that fall into a state of sin, total depravity, now sin enters the world. Man lost all ability to will the performance of any of those works that are spiritually good and that accompany salvation. And so a natural or unregenerate man, being dead in sin, Ephesians 2, and altogether opposed to that which is good. Hence, man is not able by the strength of his own to turn to God. That's what we mean by free will, that man cannot will himself to turn to God. There has to be a calling and a drawing, or even he can't even prepare himself to turn to God. So when God converts a sinner and brings him out of sin into the state of grace, he then frees man from his natural bondage to sin and enables him freely to will and to do that which is spiritually good. But again, man is not perfect now. There is still corruptions that remain in him as the sinner. And so that man's will is never completely and perfectly held in captivity to that which is good, because man does sin. So in the fourfold state of man, before the fall, after regeneration, and in glory, man has the liberty of will to make voluntary choices. So again, Calvinists and Reformed people do not deny that man cannot make choices. They're not robots. That means that his choices are not forced or coerced to do something he does not want to do. So we have to take note that there is indeed a distinction between liberty and ability. There is a distinction between liberty and ability. And this is where many people stumble. The will of man has liberty. So we're never forced to do something we don't want to do in any of our four states. In the sense, or in that sense, our wills are always at liberty. They're free. But the ability of the will is different. The ability of the will to be good or bad is not something that is retained in the fall. We will always, apart from the grace of God, choose what is bad, since we are in bondage to sin. We still have the freedom to choose without coercion, but choose evil by necessity due to a corruption of nature, and are unable to do otherwise. So again, man, when Reformed and Calvinists say man does have free will, it is that will is in bondage. It cannot freely choose to do good. So that, I think, is a very, very important distinction that we need to consider. We don't want to misrepresent what Calvinists say, and people think about that. So I think that is very, very important. So I hope that this helped. Again, this is a very ongoing debate, been going on for centuries, and is going to continue to go on. But we just want to make sure that we're not misrepresenting people's views. And again, discussion is always welcome, and discussion is important, because we are to love God with all of our minds, our will, our emotion, our strength. So, it's Rev C saying, God bless you, God keep you, and I'll see you on the next video.